Coming up on COS Now, is President Trump getting closer to endorsing Convention of States? A new post on Truth Social has people talking. Plus, major legislative wins in Wyoming and South Dakota, big media mentions, and a historic milestone for our movement. All that and more on COS Now.
What do we want? When do we want it? Now!
Hey everybody, I'm your host Rachel Martin, and this is COS Now, where we bring you all the latest news in the Convention of States movement. You guys know the drill. Make sure that you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and ring that notification bell so you never miss any upcoming content that we have for you guys. And while you guys are at it, make sure that you check out our activity on our other social media platforms, such as Instagram, Facebook, and Rumble. With that being said, let's jump into the COS updates. So, is President Trump getting closer to endorsing our movement? Last week, he shared a clip on Truth Social from Levin, which features Convention of States.
That when I say that Donald Trump has the potential of being the greatest conservative president in the last century, I mean it. I spent 8 years in top executive positions in the Reagan administration, including Chief of Staff of the Department of Justice and Deputy Solicitor of the Department of Interior, as well as a stint at the White House. I was involved in the Tea Party movement, one of the outspoken leaders of the Tea Party movement. I've been involved as one of the leaders in the Convention of States movement with our friend Mark Meckler, over 5 million members.
If you haven't done so already, add your name to our open letter to Trump asking for his support of Convention of States. In order for us to send it over, we require 1 million signatures, so make sure you sign it as well as everyone you know. You can do that at conventionofstates.com/Trump. We're getting closer and closer to the President of the United States endorsing the Convention of States movement. Meanwhile, Convention of States also got a positive mention on Timcast.
In the perfect world, hey, listen, yeah, we'd have term limits, we'd have single item bills that came out, and we'd be able to say, hey, listen, I like that, I don't like that, I like that, I don't like that. And you know what? My representatives are going to vote the way I want them to do.
Penny, there's a method to get exactly what you want. And it's an Article 5 Convention of States. You want to go around Washington, D.C., go ahead and come up with all the votes you need to get an Article 5 Convention of States, and we can amend the Constitution, because that's just, the Article 5 says this is what you're going to do. You need 2/3 of the states to agree. You know, have the convention, get the amendments you want. You want term limits, you can put that into the Constitution, but you need to have an Article 5, and that's the only way you can circumvent D.C.
A lot happened legislatively for Convention of States, so let's make sure you're up to date on it. On Tuesday, we achieved a big victory in the Wyoming Senate, which voted overwhelmingly in favor of our resolution by 22-7. Here's Senator Case.
Congress isn't going to pass anything. They're not going to limit their powers. They're not going to limit the budget. We have to do it. Convention of the States is the way to do it.
The legislation now goes to the Wyoming House for final passage. This means that Wyoming is now in a race with South Dakota to become state number 20 in the COS movement. Both states are now halfway through the legislative process, so congratulations to the COS Wyoming team on this exciting progress. With less than 24 hours notice, several Iowans in Des Moines showed up to testify in favor of our resolution. On Wednesday, a subcommittee of the Iowa Senate Committee on State Government held a public hearing, and we even received support from an influential organization, the Family Leader. The subcommittee voted to advance the resolution to the full committee, an important preliminary win for the COS Iowa team. Meanwhile, on Friday, the New Hampshire House Committee on State-Federal Relations and Veterans Affairs also heard testimony on Convention of States. Earlier today, there were hearings in South Dakota and Kansas, and we're expecting more legislative activity later this week. You can catch all the action at conventionofstates.com/COS Live. COS President Mark Meckler was in the media again, including an appearance on Newsmax with COS supporter Chris Salcedo.
Is it now the best time to move on this to help the America First coalition restore those chains that the Constitution is supposed to place on government?
There are a lot of things that I'm hoping that Trump will get done during this administration, things like doing away with federal bureaucracies like the Department of Education or energy or things like that. But the Democrats can bring them back the next time they're in power. What we want to do is make sure that those things are permanent, a balanced budget amendment, term limits, etc.
Establishment news outlets, on the other hand, haven't been as happy with COS, including this recent hit piece from Mother Jones. And that brings us to the final 5 highlights. Last week, Connecticut filed for the Convention of States resolution. This means that all 50 states have now introduced our resolution at some point in our organization's history. Shout out to the Connecticut team on their years of dedication in achieving this milestone. The Hawaii team launched a 6-day surge campaign at their state capital as they distributed literature and educated legislators about the constitutional solution that's as big as the DC problem. Check out the full story at conventionofstates.com/blog. COS continues to grab headlines in local publications, including these stories in Wyoming and South Dakota. Tune into COS at Home this week to catch an exclusive interview with Blaze TV's Steve Dace. New episodes debut on first Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. You can watch that at conventionofstates.com/at-home. Here are some recent photos from COS patriots across the country, including Mississippi, Idaho, Vermont, Louisiana, Alabama, and Maryland. Thanks for watching this week's recap. Leave your thoughts in the comments down below, and I'll see you same time next week here on COS Now.